When most of us in the West see a dragon, we file it away pretty quickly. It's a myth, right? Or a beautiful ornament, a mascot. It's safe, it's folklore.
Right, it's contained.
But the source material we're getting into today commits what it calls the first heresy against that whole idea.
It really does. It forces an absolute reversal of perspective, which is what makes this so compelling. The core idea is that the Chinese Dragon Master doesn't just represent the dragon, the tradition, the power, the entire lineage. It is the dragon.
And the source argues this isn't symbolic.
Not at all. It's fundamentally, and this is their word, metabolic.
Metabolic. That's a radical choice of words.
It is. It's described as a living, breathing meridian network of power, consciousness, and what they call organizational chi.
The vital energy that binds it all together.
Exactly. They treat it as a physiological reality that actually governs society.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore this idea of the dragon as an ancient invisible operating system, a kind of power rootkit that's been running China's social and spiritual architecture for centuries. We're going to examine the 5 sciences of imperial qi, the mechanics of something they call true mind control, and maybe most importantly, how this system is designed to function completely outside the view of, well, our modern capitalist way of seeing the world.
And to frame this for you, we have to try and understand a system that operates using Liling. Now, if you think about history, Liling is described as a kind of spiritual command code that predates the Greek concept of logos.
Okay, so logos is structured reason, logic.
Right, observable logic. Ling is the hidden energetic code that tells reason how to operate in the first place. So the authority of a dragon master is totally different from, say, a politician or a CEO.
It's not elected or appointed?
No, it's activated. It comes through this deep personal cellular transformation and a kind of inherent resonance with this whole energetic architecture.
That is just a fundamental challenge to how we define power. The sources claim this authority isn't about votes. It's inherited through what they call blood oath alchemy.
And that resonance, that activation, is achieved through mastering 5 specific fields. The source organizes them very neatly into the pentagram of dragon mastery.
A pentagram. So these are seen as interconnected sciences.
Yes. They're not philosophy, they're not religion, they're treated as applied sciences. Operational modules for systemic control.
Okay, let's run through them. I want to see how they function as modules in this ancient operating system. First up is Quan, inner sovereignty.
And this is defined as mind control, achieved purely through Gong or internal skill.
What's crucial here is that it's explicitly not psychology.
Exactly. Western psychology tries to change the mind with words, suggestions, drugs, all external stimuli. Quan works from the inside out. It uses internal energy to rewrite the deep structure of consciousness itself.
Wow. Okay, next is Zhen, true science. And this completely reframes alchemy. It's not about turning lead into gold.
No, it's the physics of consciousness. Instead of boiling lead, think of them as boiling thought forms. They're trying to manipulate matter and energy to create specific shifts in reality.
The third is Miaoji, or subtle organization. And this is where the individual scale meets the societal scale.
Right. It basically says social architecture is just the feng shui of human meridians.
So you're treating society like a giant energetic body.
Precisely. You don't just change traffic lights to manage flow. You change the energetic vectors of the street, the buildings around it, to subtly influence group behavior. You're managing the flow of collective qi.
Preventing blockages that could lead to rebellion.
Or even just intellectual divergence.
Fourth is Shen-Yi, immortal medicine. So this is acupuncture, but taken way beyond treating a headache.
Oh, way beyond. It's strategic influence on historical illness. If a society has a disease, say corruption, the Dragon Master uses macro-level acupuncture.
Like placing a temple or moving a river.
Exactly. To influence the entire system's energy flow and strategically alter its destiny. It's literally governance through geomancy.
And that leaves the fifth, Zhen, warfare through non-action.
This is combat through qi displacement, not brute force. The highest victory is arranging things so the opponent just defeats themselves.
Or never even shows up to the battle.
Right. You manipulate the energetic field until their will to fight just collapses. They see it as inevitable fate, not that they were outgunned.
So the key here really is that these aren't just abstract ideas. The sources insist they are integrated, actionable command codes for total systemic control. Now that we have the framework, let's get to the most unsettling part of this system. the actual core mechanism of control. The sources describe something far more invasive than hypnosis because it avoids coercion. It's called Gong Shu.
The art of the empty center.
Right. And this is the foundation of what they call true mind control.
And it's so insidious because the Dragon Master doesn't force a new ideology onto you. Instead, they use these internal methods to just remove the ego's foundation. They wipe your original operating system clean.
So it's like reformatting a hard drive before you install new software. The result is the subject becomes a Jingang, a mirror palace.
A literal empty mirror. And the implication is profound. The subject then reflects the dragon's will, but they believe that reflection is their own authentic desire.
They've internalized the master's agenda as their own personal mission.
Fully. And what's really fascinating and frankly terrifying is the detailed protocol for how this is done. The 3 stages of Wuoi subjugation.
Okay, walk us through it. Stage 1.
Stage 1 is Shuide, or water ground. This is purely preparatory. It's about dissolving the target's psychological boundaries using really specific environmental manipulation.
Not words, the environment itself.
The room's key vectors, the seasonal timing, the architecture, it all works to weaken the ego's defenses before a single word of instruction is even spoken.
And stage 2 is the actual intrusion.
Yes, Kiji, energy binding. This involves physically attaching a peeling cord, an etheric implant they call it, using the acupuncture point GV20.
Bai Hui, that's at the very top of the head.
At the crown. And the source is very specific. They use gold needles, and it's done during what looks like a normal medical treatment. It's an energetic surgical procedure disguised as therapy.
Oh my God. And then stage 3.
Hunming, soul decree. This is the final critical step. This is the moment the target chooses their new path, the programming is done, and they truly believe the dragon's agenda is their personal destiny, their highest calling.
They willingly walk into the cage,
believing it's the path to liberation.
That choice, without any awareness of the manipulation, that's their definition of true mind control. But, I mean, controlling one person isn't enough to run an empire.
No, of course not. To make this stable across generations, you need a society-wide system of continuous programming. And that's where they introduce the concept of the Confucian BIOS firmware.
So the idea of Li, or ritual propriety, it suddenly isn't just about good manners.
Not at all. The sources claim Li is a behavioral programming language. The Dragon Master codes society itself through ritual sequences, ancestor worship, bureaucracy, everything.
Each one reinforcing the same core belief.
That external hierarchy and internal compliance are the only path to spiritual fulfillment. It's neurolinguistic sorcery on a civilizational scale.
We've covered the individual. Now let's scale that up to the societal body. The source argues the Chinese miya, or temple, isn't just stone and wood.
No, it's a living organ, built on a long mei, a dragon vein, that acts as the nation's nervous system.
So temple architecture becomes the highest form of acupuncture.
That's it. The master inserts stone and geometry into the landscape to redirect the entire nation's destiny. It's guoqi. And every part of the temple is mapped to the human body's meridian system.
Okay, can you walk us through that map? How does a building filter traitors?
Well, it's very clinical. The main hall, the Dadian, is the heart. It's constantly pumping imperial qi out to the community.
The metabolic center.
And the filtering happens in the side chambers, the Piandian, the liver and spleen. In Chinese medicine, those organs process and filter. In the temple, they filter out spiritual toxins traitors, and they digest offerings, turning that raw energy into usable power for the lineage.
What about the altar, the Shen Tai? That sounds like the control center.
It is. It's the third eye, the focal point anchoring the Ling, the command code of the entire lineage. And finally, the courtyard, the Tianjing, maps to the Bai-Hui point on the head.
Open to the sky.
Open to heaven. It's where the sky dragon penetrates the earth dragon, facilitating that cosmic energy exchange the whole system needs to survive.
So for this system to last for centuries, it needs a way to be passed down. And the source draws a sharp contrast with the West's paper charters. Here it's transmitted through Jimai, blood vessels.
And these vessels carry ancestral Jing, essence memory. It's not just DNA. It's the spiritual blueprint, the knowledge of the ancestors passed down metabolically.
And the actual transmission protocol starts with an initiation. The Five Thunder writes, Wu Lai Fa. That sounds intense.
It is. The source describes it as a ritual lightning strike, a forced energy surge that literally kills the civilian's soul. The body remains, but the dragon soul is birthed in its place.
It fundamentally rewires the initiate's energetic signature.
Completely. And then the long-term conditioning is the training. mainly through Quan, internal martial arts. The movements aren't for fighting. They're alchemical transformation sequences.
And the source specifically mentions Bagua-Heng's circle walking. I always thought that was just a particular style of movement.
According to this material, that circle walking is a form of Qigong for time travel.
Time travel.
You're walking the Bagua, the 8 trigrams, to collapse future probabilities into present control. They claim that by mastering it, you can predetermine future outcomes.
So if we put this all together, this entire system of alchemy, both external and internal, is basically a massive project in what you could call bioquantum engineering.
That's the perfect term. Herbal medicine provides the chemical vectors to prepare the body to receive the ling. Meditation is you debugging the ancestral code that's already stored in your spirit.
And the martial arts.
That's you field testing psychic weapons in the Jianghu, the social shadow realm. Every movement is a spiritual command, testing the system's ability to influence the material world.
Which brings up the huge question. If this system is so powerful, so engineered, why isn't it obvious? Why is it invisible to us, especially to the metrics of capitalism?
Because capitalism demands things you can count. Assets, quarterly reports, CEOs with measurable wealth. The dragon, the source says, is purely a process. It only exists in the flow state between nodes.
That has no headquarters.
It has thousands of acupuncture points in the global city grid. Its wealth isn't currency. Its wealth is curbing accumulation, flow, and velocity. You can't seize that.
And that invisibility gives it these huge counter-capitalist advantages.
Absolutely. First, just plain invisibility. It operates through fronts we see as harmless culture. Cultural associations, medical clinics, martial arts schools. The source sees these as functional dragon organs.
Processing Kai and managing the network.
Second, immortality. If you arrest a leader, the source says you've just amputated a finger. The lineage is self-healing. The code gets passed on, another leader emerges because the network is decentralized.
A third, maybe the most profound of all, weaponized tradition.
This is its ultimate invisibility cloak. Every cultural event you see, a Chinatown parade, a lion dance, ancestor worship, is described as spatial temporal sorcery.
So they're not just parades.
They are ritual reboots of the Dragon's Key network, recalibrating the system, reinforcing the firmware, and it's all completely invisible to modern surveillance, which just sees a traffic jam.
This leads us to what the source calls the final heresy. It claims that what the West dismisses as esotericism is actually just the classified tier of dragon technology, Kisu, classified learning.
Which means the Ling transfer isn't symbolic. It is a technology that literally installs ancestral consciousness into the initiate's spirit. It's a transfer of historical identity.
And it hides on purpose.
Yes, as a form of cryptographic warfare. It doesn't hide because it's weak. It hides because modern systems, especially capitalism, are obsessed with measurement. Observation.
And observation, in this system, collapses the key field. It destroys the waveform of wu-wei.
The system stops working if you can see it.
So what does this all mean for you, listening to this? The final implication from this source is, well, it's incredibly unsettling. The warning is stark. You are not studying it. You are executing its code.
The architecture is already running inside you. The Confucian firmware gives you the work ethic. The Taoist rootkit manages your intuition. The Buddhist backdoor handles mindfulness.
The master just waits for the subject to ripen.
To ripen into a state of enslavement, they call enlightenment. A moment of chosen, willing alignment.
It's a chillingly powerful system. Our deep dive has really revealed an architecture of power defined by choice, but choice without any awareness of manipulation. The most powerful mind control is making the prisoner believe they are free.
So if the source is correct, that social architecture and ritual are a behavioral programming language running in the background, it raises a pretty important question for you to think about. What common accepted traditions or daily routines in your own life might actually be the result of a civilizational scale neuro-linguistic sorcery? What code are you executing without ever knowing the programmer?
You know, what if the most powerful kind of control wasn't about forcing an idea onto you, but about creating a void inside of you? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty chilling concept from Taoist tradition. It's called the art of the empty center, and it's a form of mind control that works not through force, but through, well, through absence. Let's see how it's supposed to work.
Usually, when you and I think about mind control, we picture something pretty aggressive, right? Like propaganda, coercion, something that's all about imposing a will onto someone else. But what we're looking at today, it's the complete opposite. It doesn't add a thing. Instead, it works by hollowing out a person's ego, creating this perfect internal mirror, so that when a new idea is reflected back at them, they believe it was their own all along.
So how on earth is something like that even possible? Well, the core philosophy is built around this really powerful and kind of disturbing metaphor, turning a person's mind into what's known as a mirror palace.
The traditional name for this is Kong Shen Shu, and really, the whole secret is right there in the translation: empty center. The entire art is focused on carefully, methodically removing the very foundation of a person's ego. It's not about shoving new beliefs in, it's about creating a vacuum that's just waiting to be filled.
And that vacuum is then transformed into a Gong, or a mirror palace. In this state, the target becomes a completely flawless reflection of the practitioner's will. And here's the truly insidious part, right? Because their own ego is gone, they don't see it as an outside influence. They feel it as their own deepest, most authentic desire.
Now, this whole transformation isn't random. It's achieved through a chillingly deliberate three-stage process called wu-wei subjugation. It's this methodical journey that starts with the physical world around you and ends deep inside the target's own mind. It all kicks off with stage 1, which is called shui di, or water ground. And get this, it starts without a single word ever being spoken. This first stage is all about subtlety. The practitioner literally uses the environment itself as a weapon. They manipulate everything: the layout of a room, the time of year, even the flow of energy, or qi, to non-verbally and very gradually dissolve the target's psychological defenses. It's almost like using a gentle stream of water to erode solid rock, just over time. Okay, so once those mental defenses are weakened, the process moves into stage 2. And this is where it escalates from being environmental to being deeply personal. The goal now is to create a direct, physical, and energetic link to the target. According to the source material, this is done by creating an etheric implant. It's called a ling cord. Now, you can think of it as this invisible, energetic tether that directly connects the practitioner to the subject, which then paves the way for a much, much deeper level of influence. And this isn't just some vague, mystical idea either. The source gets chillingly specific about the physical method. Gold needles are inserted into a very particular acupuncture point, GV20, which is right at the crown of the head. And to the target, it's all disguised as just a simple medical treatment, completely masking what's really going on.
So, with the mind weakened and that direct link established, the process enters its third and final stage, Hun Ming, or soul decree. This is where all that psychological and energetic groundwork really pays off, resulting in the ultimate form of control.
And this is the most critical part of the whole thing. The target makes the final move themselves. They actively choose their own enslavement, but they don't see it that way at all. They've been guided to a point where they genuinely believe this path is their true destiny, an inevitable, maybe even the desirable, future that they have to embrace.
So, when you put all these stages together, you get to the true end game of this art. It's a deception so profound that the very ideas of freedom and control are just completely flipped on their head.
So the subject isn't just controlled, they are guided to a state of total submission that they mistake for enlightenment. As the source material puts it, the most effective control is when the prisoner is convinced they are entirely free. They think they've achieved some kind of ultimate liberation, when in reality, they've achieved the exact opposite.
I know, this all sounds pretty ancient and esoteric, doesn't it? But is there a modern way to really understand this process? I mean, how can we wrap our heads around the idea of someone willingly accepting total control without even realizing it?
Well, the source material offers this really powerful modern analogy. Imagine you download a new program for your computer. You think it's an optimizer that's going to help it run better. You read the terms, and you willingly click Agree. But hidden inside that program is a secret replacement operating system. It quietly rewrites your computer's most basic functions, all while you keep using it, believing you are still in complete control. And that just leaves us with this one final, lingering question. It's one thing to fight against prison bars you can actually see, but if the perfect prison is invisible, if the most profound control feels exactly like freedom, how would you ever know you were trapped inside?